Hello and welcome. This is NT Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stober. Now last week, precisely on the 21st of July, President Muhammadu Buhari was on a 4-day official visit to the United States for bilateral discussions to strengthen diplomatic ties between Nigeria and that country that centered on the economy, security, health and other national issues of development. Now President Buhari had audience with US President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden and other political leaders, as well as the business community, who expressed confidence and optimism in Buhari's ability to govern Africa's most populous nation, particularly in the fight against corruption and Boko Haram insurgency, and reviving the nation's economy based on his reputation and antecedents. Now, though analysts say the outcome of the visit might not be immediate, there are strong hopes for U.S. support for Buhari's anti-graft war, particularly in tracing looted funds said to be kept in American banks, which Washington has promised to repatriate to Nigeria. There are also indications that the United States will help Nigeria in the fight against terrorism. It is widely held that since President Buhari's victory, the United States has committed $5 million in new support for a multinational joint task force set up to tackle terrorism. Now, how committed are the talks, especially in boosting American investments in Nigeria? Now, is the green signal of the visit a plus for Nigeria's interest in nuclear technology to enhance power generation? These are some of the issues we'll be raising tonight with a panel of discussants, but first let's get to see this background report by Nandi Odipo.
President Muhammadu Buhari's visit to the United States is considered historic in many ways. This is arguably the first time an African president, especially that of Nigeria, will be accorded the level of reverence or respect that the current Nigerian president received during his visit. The significant index of this reverence is the fact that President Muhammadu Buhari was received at the Blair House, which is the official place for the American president to receive visitors. The visit afforded the Nigerian president the opportunity to discuss critical issues at the center of the country's development. They include Nigeria's anti-corruption crusade and assistance in the recovery of Nigeria's stolen loot in foreign countries like the US. The fight against Boko Haram insurgency was also on the table, while strengthening bilateral relations between both countries topped the agenda of the 4-day visit. President Muhammadu Buhari met with the US President at the Oval Office in the White House, where President Barack Obama promised to support the Nigerian government in ensuring peace, security, stability, and socio-economic development in view of Nigeria's place in Africa. President Buhari was also hosted to a breakfast meeting by American Vice President Joe Biden, where they compared notes on the terror war. The Nigerian president did also meet with the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, who maintained the commitment of the U.S. government towards collaborating effectively with Nigeria in doing what he calls a better job in tackling the menace of Boko Haram. While in the U.S., President Buhari met with American businessmen and policymakers led by former U.S. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright. The meeting was in furtherance of President Buhari's resolve to attract more investment into Nigeria towards boosting the economy and creating jobs. The president was also a guest of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and met with representatives of the World Bank and World Health Organization, where he got a pledge of over $2 billion to help in the resettlement efforts of displaced persons in the northeast who have had to flee from their homes due to the activities of Boko Haram. President Muhammadu Buhari also met with Nigerians living in the U.S. and assured them of his commitment towards ensuring good governance in the country.
Well, that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let me first introduce you to our guest tonight. We'd like to welcome to this program Mayor Tanko Al-Makura, who is the Governor of Nasarawa State. Mr. Governor, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewers.
We're also joined here in Abuja studios by the Managing Director CEO of the Nigeria Export Promotion Council, Mr. Olusegun Awolowo. Thanks for being here tonight.
It's a pleasure to be in the program.
Let me also welcome to tonight's program Malam Mahmood Osman, who is a member of the Reform National Conference, former Kano State Commissioner for Information, and also a public affairs analyst. Thanks for being here, Malam Mahmood.
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewers.
I'd like also to welcome to this program Ambassador Joseph Ayalogo, who is Nigeria's former ambassador to the United Nations, Switzerland. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Now joining us from our Lagos Network Center is Dr. Kalu Dikakalu, former Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, is there in our Lagos studios. Thanks for joining us tonight. You're Cyril. Okay. Well, as I always say on this program, at the appropriate time you have a chance to be part of the discussions in the studios, the various platforms by which you could be part of the discussion in the studio will be on your screens. But let me just quickly say, for those who will be phoning in at the appropriate time, if you do get through, do us a favor, turn down the volume of your TV set. That way we'll avoid the hurlback or the echo. Once again, if you get through on the phone, turn down the volume of your TV set. We'll avoid the echo through that. Welcome once again to NT Tuesday Live, and let's begin. I'm starting with a general perspective of what I guess make of Mr. President's visit to the United States of America, visit which was concluded a short while ago. Let me start off by asking Governor Tanko Almakura to give us a general perspective of that visit. By the way, to state, of course, that he was among the President's entourage. Mr. Governor.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being on this program, and also a pleasure giving an overview of what the President's visit was all about very briefly. I must say the visit was profound because it was a visit that has with it a lot of activities ranging from airport ceremonies befitting a president of repute to conveying of the president's entourage to the Black House. And we all know the Black House happens to be one of the historical landmarks in the United States of America, where presidents that who won election before they are sworn in usually stay in that abode. And President Muhammad Buhari happens to be honored with being in that very exalted edifice. Very few people have that opportunity to do so. When you say general overview, I am thinking about a quick rundown of the activities that trailed the visit. First of all, after having been received at Black House, the President had a briefing by all the important dignitaries that accompanied him to the visit to have a stock taken on how we position ourselves for the programs line up for the presidential visit. Shortly after that, there was a dinner hosted by the President to receive Madeleine Albright, the former Secretary of State of the United States, with a tremendous amount of who and who within the State Department, including ambassadors to the United States and many other countries, and very highly placed State Department officials. Amongst others, it also included very highly placed businessmen. On other days, meetings after meetings dealing with different agencies, departments of commerce, trade, agriculture, and what have you, have been the activities that have engaged virtually all of us in discussing issues across the board. Apart from such, the following day after our visit was the visit to the White House, where Mr. President met with President Barack Obama. The following day, there was a visit to a breakfast reception by the Vice President. The following day, the President had the opportunity of meeting the Secretary of State, John Kerry. These are the highly placed top echelon of the American government. The President has met one-on-one in their offices. So I think I'm not sure, but I think it's necessary also to point out that there are certain very important institutions that determine American foreign policies, American direction, like United States Institute for Peace, United States Center for Strategic Studies, IRI, and many others, to mention a few. So that was a general overview.
Thank you very much, and we'll go into the details of discussions that were held there. But let's come to the Nigerian Expert Promotion Council. Were impressions about that visit?
Yes, while and also while His Excellency the Governor was busy whining and dining with President Obama, John Kerry and others, senators were in the background, totally in awe of the visit and what was happening. Particularly, the United States is the largest foreign investor in Nigeria in terms of petroleum mining and also the trade sector. But we are facing a declining pattern of trade because the United States is not buying our oil anymore since the discovery of shale oil. And this was an opportunity for Mr. President to engage, with his, after the discussions on security, which was really the main bane of Mr. President Buhari's visit to America. It was security, it was tackling Boko Haram, and that took the forefront, and also the battle against the Nigerian cancer called corruption. So those were the main focus. But the final line was also the need for trade, and Mr. President also met with the Secretary. That's a meeting we were in, the Secretary of Commerce, Penny Pritzker, and the U.S. Trade. Because before Mr. President's visit to the United States, all the relationship between Nigeria and the United States, I wouldn't say was frozen, but it was a cooling stage. It was cool. There was no movement. There was nothing but no movement. And everybody was just tolerating each other. They didn't want to come out and tell us off. And we were suspicious of the decision they were taking in one way or the other. But for the first time, for a long time, there was this presence of Nigeria. It's just everything changed, and simply because of trust. The Americans have made up their mind. They have studied the situation. They have studied the terrain. They observe that this is the leadership they can trust. This is the leadership with integrity. This is the leadership they can do business with. And that's why they had the opportunity not only to visit President Obama, but all those who by the time in American system, if they make your protocol possible for you to meet Mr. President, Vice President, Secretary of State, those three are very, very important. And they extended it to Committee on Foreign Relations and other committees, Chamber of Commerce, and so on and so forth. So I think it is a very welcome development as far as Nigeria is concerned, and as far as the relationship of Nigeria and the United States. We are going to see what Hans Morgenthau used to say, politics among nations. So it's going to play properly if we play our cards. If we take it from the visit, we move the whole process forward. Ambassador, what you heard Mahmoud asking?
Well, thank you. I was also here in share of you, and we had a lot about it. No, what's, of course, principally we know that state visits are the height of expression of relations between countries. At times, visit can come midway or definitely after they would have studied the person, but that this is coming almost so shortly after
the coming of office of the President Buhari, says quite a lot of things. Of course, we remember that the president was even was invited to the G8, G7, even before he took office. So this is almost an extension, and what we can say is that it speaks so much about the new hope that they see for Nigeria, and that there is a certain feel of confidence that this is the man that they can work with. Well, not that they couldn't work with earlier presidents, but there must be something they want to say. And when you listen to the tone of the visit, there is the blitz, the Blair House and all that, and then of course the stridency of it's a good mixture of a state visit and a walking visit, because they made all the contacts that needed to be made. The president was able to say what was in his mind and listen to everybody also say what was in their mind about us and what are the expectations. A lot of good things, a lot of major issues were discussed. I guess we might go into that subsequently, but all in all, it's an important visit. We've had some discordant notes about it, but I believe principally that that's nothing that we have lost by being part of that visit.
All right.
Thank you, Ambassador. So let's go over to our Lagos Network Center, and we're joined by Dr. Kalu Idikakalu. Dr. Idikakalu, your impressions of the visit?
Well, I also watched it from the home base, like a couple of my colleagues out there in Abuja have just said. I think I will endorse just about all the views that have been expressed by every member of the panel. But let me just look at it from another angle. You know, for some of us who are around at independence, you got that feeling that Americans were so eager for Nigeria as if it had to come on its own. Here was a large country, boisterous country, we speak English. There was something they saw about themselves in Nigeria. But then, over the years, there have been a lot of incidents. I don't want to go into all the details, but sort of all this gave the impression that this potential that was expected, we are not really getting there. So the symbolic nature of this visit is actually underscored by some of the comments that were made, like during a press conference when one of the ladies prefaced her statement that she had never seen such hopes in a long time in the relationship between the United States and Nigeria. Now, everybody was sort of falling over each other to express this sort of optimism. And I think it all goes very well for this country that we have arrived at this point. And remember also that paradoxically, this was the year when we were supposed to be falling apart in some form, although there was really a little bit of misinterpretation of the comments that were made regarding what will happen to us in 2015. So if you look at that against this background, you feel that this was really a sea change from the very recent past. Now, the major issues that were discussed, they went headlong to discuss them. Well, of course, ideally, the more prepared you are with specific requests and proposals, the more you will get after this sort of meeting. But there is no question that our president really carried the American people with his simplicity, his directness, his almost boyish frankness in addressing all the issues. And as somebody was just saying, well, if people have expressed misgivings about his openness in certain things, but this is certainly a welcome change from what I always thought as attempts to not play straight. So I think there's a lot of hope for the future, but we have to settle down in each of these major areas and really prepare the program so that we can access at least whatever we can from the American side of this bilateral relationship.
All right, so let's look at a few of those main issues that we were discussed. If we recall, just before the visit, the Deputy Secretary of State had said that what the US was interested in was what it will do with Nigeria, and not really what it will do for Nigeria has been the case in the past. So, what can the US do with Nigeria? And let's begin to look at it from one of the biggest challenges today, the insurgency in parts of Nigeria.
Thank you very much. I think more than any time before now, the certain bad impression that people have about Nigeria's status with regard to peace and stability has been corrected by his visit. And Mr. President was very forthcoming and direct in talking with Americans about what is Nigeria's priority, what Nigeria wants the Americans to do for it. And that is, first of all, the issue of security. The issue of security has become so overwhelming that it requires some kind of collaboration and support, especially from world powers like the United States of America. And the issue of Boko Haram particularly is such a very nagging situation. But the President succinctly put it then that the country is a proper situation, but we need that collaboration and support to ensure the total extermination of the security challenges. And the confidence the Americans have of Mr. President and the country, his integrity and pedigree has also helped matters, because they are asking, what can we do for you? And they were so willing. But in Obama's office, Obama said he is considering talking with Nigeria because President Buhari has a lot of integrity and good support of the people.
Yeah, Mr. Governor, you would recall that not too long ago, there was a general misgiving about whether the Americans were really committed to assisting Nigeria. We had issues of wanting to shop for weapons, and we couldn't, because it was said at that time that the Americans were not willing. And we would also recall that at some point in time there was some promise about training and assistance, particularly locating the Chibok girls. And that Nigerians didn't see much of that happening, and for a while it just looked as if there wasn't much coming from the way of the Americans. Did this visit achieve anything concrete to that effect, that Nigerians might say there is a change of heart now, can look forward to some concrete assistance in terms of routing the insurgents?
Very much, because in all the offices and offices with whom we met, the issue of handling insurgency had been the topmost issues discussed, and areas that were most talked about were areas where we talk about assistance in terms of intelligence gathering, intelligence sharing, and also ways and means of supporting Nigeria to find out how to discover these lost girls of Chibok. Besides that, there is also a highly technical discussion that took place, which by the time we come back, a certain committee will be set to articulate properly those critical needs that Nigeria would need in terms of handling the issue of insurgency. I think those issues are more or less classified, that may not need to be discussed on a forum such as this.
Okay, so let's look at the other side now. How insurgency, terrorism can affect the economy. As indeed it is affecting the economy of the Northeast and generally Nigeria's economy, seeing that these are pretty hard times. Now, you were involved in other discussions, well, as you said, the governor and the president there. The one you have done. I must say to be extremely thrilled and privileged to be also the part of the meeting, attending meetings with Mr. President at the Reserve Blouse. And we talked on, there's no doubt about it that the trade balance has really gone down from 2011. We were exporting $34 billion to United States, and it's a drop in 2014 now to $3 billion. Mainly they're not buying our oil anymore, so that has gone down. But the Americans have always been, the partners are friends, and they've always told us about that. That's why AGOA, the African Good Opportunity Act, was passed by former President Clinton. Then, now we need to take more advantage of that. Because incidentally, it was on Wednesday after AGOA went through a bipartisan vote in the Senate. One of the bills that went through both houses of Senate and passed in a bipartisan way was AGOA, African Good Opportunity Act. Both Republicans and Democrats supported it. And now it was signed by President Obama on Wednesday, just before President departed. Now we need to take advantage of that. AGOA offers us 6,300 products, duty-free access into the United States. But we have only pushed on oil. But now we have an AGOA strategy in place, which we're going to put out, and so we'll be able to take real advantage of that. This is trade, not hate. That's what America is pushing, and that's what President Buhari frankly said to them, that look, Nigeria does not need hate. We want trade. We want to do business with you. So we can. With that background, would you say now we're in a better position to take advantage of AGOA? Because I recall a number of programs we had just before the vote. There were quite a number of opinions that were canvassed here. AGOA wasn't or hadn't been too beneficial to Nigeria. Although on the other side, it was said that, it was because Nigeria did not take full advantage of it. Yes, I will say it was because we didn't take full advantage of it. And we really must. And we've been working on it, even prior to the renewal, in AGOA meetings, America, seeing how we can work. We have a meeting every 2 years with the United States of America. That's a trade investment framework agreement meeting. The last one was in March 2014, and the next one is going to be in March next year in Abuja here, where we examine all the areas, the non-trade barriers, the non-trade barriers that hinge on that, with standards, with quality, with meeting that, and also the need to get more Nigerians to get in the export business, to go into the States. We need awareness. We're doing human capacity building. We're working with them. So this time around, we are now positioned, because like I said, we're now on ground zero, because we no longer have oil to sell to America. So we must push out other products. Trying to push for better trade and a more balanced relationship in trading, boosting trade between Nigeria and the US. It's been said that there will be all kinds of conditions and conditionalities. That was a word we were used to at one point in time, and that really Americans will be more interested in what they can get out, and this whole thing was not just because they liked us suddenly, but because they saw the threat of Nigeria moving towards China and developing a better relationship with China. This is all part of the race to see who gets the better part of Africa. Do you think that's the case here?
Well, there may be some truth even in that one. But the problem is that it is really our bad manners that brought us to where we are. You see, if you are dealing with developed economies, Europe, North America, whatever agreement you enter, they want you to observe it religiously because they will do the same in a civilized manner. So when they came here, invested in oil, we go and harass them. We bust pipelines, we do whatever we will, we terrorize them, we kidnap our citizens, their own citizens. Oil tankers in the houses are hijacked. So why do they bother with a country that, because everywhere and then, we have oil companies in Nigeria, going to what your law is called force majeure, but they cannot fulfill their promise and so on. So Americans are highly developed, they look ahead into the future. This oil they are taking is part of their production plan. And somebody will disrupt it, and we are not the only ones with oil. Despite all the insults from Venezuela, they are still buying Venezuela oil. They are buying everybody's oil except us. So it's not really because with all their shell oil, all the oil they have in Texas and Alaska and everywhere, they will still patronize us if the conditions are right. So it is a matter of we doing our own part of the bargain. And there's no somebody we can trust. Our viewers and some of us who are observing what happened, there was something very important which took place. The Alumni Association of United States Law College. Mr. President attended a meeting of his own alumni members. Those people are highly placed generals in the United States Army. Some are serving, some are retired, but they are very influential citizens. Some of them are even chief executives of some of these organizations we are complaining about who are no longer patronizing us. Now, Honorable Dr. Idika Kalu mentioned something in his presentation. He touched back many years ago, in the 60s. This visit is a reflection of what happened between 9th October to 14th October 1960. When Nigeria was admitted into the United Nations, Abuja took a team, met Kennedy and Vice President Johnson and so on. Similar to what is going on, that confidence in Nigeria was there. They saw the potential of Nigeria, the biggest African nation, and America want to partner with. Everything went fine. When they started Peace Corps, Nigeria was one of the first beneficiaries. They sent United States Peace Corps volunteers. Some of them are my teachers. And that arrangement and so many other things went to work. But they were cautious because Nigeria came under the influence of Britain, the former colonial power. So they don't want to be seen aggressively going into our system without having British feeling at that time. Things changed since that time. The next time was President Washington's Army General, August 77, went on a visit when Jimmy Carter was president. I think it went 4 days. That one coincided with the annual meeting of the United Nations. So September, early October is always United Nations annual meeting. So that one is even tied to UN program. This one is on its own. It shows the confidence. So if we play our cards, it's not just oil, we have exportable products. Americans are buying for other people. So it is just a matter of putting our house in order. Everybody will respect us.
Right. Ambassador, the insurgency and what we hear about some 2.1 billion or so in terms of grants for the rehabilitation of the Northeast IDPs and of course the fight against malaria. And some would ask, do we have the structures to adequately utilize whatever grants we get in this direction?
Yeah, well, we do, we should. If $2 billion is that too much to absorb, and the Northeast needs it at this time, together with what else they can get from the national coffers. So I would say that we should. Whether we do is another thing. And if we don't, well, we better get on and get the capacity to absorb the new inflows of funds from anywhere, because I would say that with the trend in the government, the way we're looking at things now, trying to put in our best foot forward, reducing on corruption, making sure that governance become people-oriented, then all the things we need to expand the economy, impact on the society, that would be one of the things we'll be working on getting. I don't want to get to say that, we're not ready for anything. We cannot say that. Whatever, if there is a shortfall in infrastructure to take on anything, then you must identify where that shortfall is and get on and fill it. That is the time we can say we are truly beginning to face our development challenges.
Well, it's a good thing you speak about the issue of corruption, for instance. And we do know that Nigeria has huge funds out there in many countries that were taken out illegally. US, some of these funds are in US banks, and expectedly, Nigeria has asked for assistance in repatriating such funds.
Yes.
Do you think that this is something we can pay for? Because just the last time Mr. President made his debut on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria, this was something he talked about. And for many Nigerians, the feeling was, if they're going to assist, everything has to be done according to their own terms. Now, is this good enough for us?
Well, let's begin from the point that I have had about $150 billion of money that should be ours, but not. It's there. If we make an effort and we get even half of that, that is a lot of money back. This is not the first time we have tried to repatriate funds.
We had that same issue with Switzerland.
Exactly, and I was ambassador at the time it was going on. Of course, a lot of things came into play. It took quite some time. Switzerland, money in Swiss accounts came in there surreptitiously, the secret banking system. And at the time, the strategy was that we needed to find out where the money is, and then the government will support the process of returning it through the legal processes. But I think this time, first of all, something is going on different this time. There is no restriction on the president is committed to it, has got his brother president to commit to it, and the processes will then cascade down. I would say that with the Swiss arrangement, because of the nature of how monies got in there and the difficulty of even identifying them, there was a lot more brick wall to go through. Of course, things have changed. I am sure that they know where all the funds are. So it's easy, of course. It's not something that will happen today, tomorrow. But once there is a commitment at that level, and that's what is needed. That is what the president's move and the commitments at the summit level, that is what the benefit that we will see. So I'm optimistic that as we push it, we're going to get results. And sorry to add that, it's not just the money we bring in or we bring back. It is the message that it sent. I see it as a critical aspect of the fight against corruption. It's not happened before. Earlier, when the one that happened was very minimal and didn't stretch. I mean, we were just talking about the Abuja route, but now it's open-ended. So that's the difference, and that's a new approach that will make an impact.
All right, let's go over to Lagos, and Dr. Kari Bikakala, I would like you to take it up from here. The question of repatriating stolen funds, as we say.
Yes, it's an extremely important issue. I realize naturally a lot of Nigerians are wincing at the prospect of going out there and laying it out like Mr. President has done. But I think it's awfully important to understand both the body language of the President and also the reception that is received in America. Every nation has to build its own structures, and I think the points have been made by particularly the last speaker. We have to build our own structures to make sure that we don't have to go out there to ask for help to track the needs by our own citizens. But such are the dimension of the quantities that we're talking about in terms of the direct contribution to building up our reserves, building up our investment, and the kinds of amounts we require to build the capacity that also has been talked about. And there is no question that this time around they are quite confident that the current leadership is serious to do his own part. And by the way, when they talk about doing it in their own terms, my reading of that is that, you see, they have their own laws, as we also should develop our own laws. What they mean by their own terms, of course, is that there are certain legal requirements, documentation requirements that they need in order to meet their own laws. So we shouldn't look at this again as a conditionality. It's really they're trying to explain to us that they have their own rules about doing these things, and we have to respect those rules, not because they're against us, but because they require them to satisfy their own observance of their own regulations. Now, this is the kind of posture that every country ought to have. Have your own institutions, have your regulations, all molded around your own interests. Of course, they have their own interests, and we should develop our own interests and stick to our own interests. But this sort of combative posture which we always adopt, as if somebody is always against us, I think we should have enough confidence to know their own interests and also assert our own interests. We are interested in recovering this money because, as I said, they are quite substantial. They make a lot of difference. Of course, they are also aware that here is a president who is absolutely determined to close these leakages, the loopholes, in other words, to reduce the possibility that this sort of thing will be happening again. So at this point in time, we can come clean and say how we feel and make the most of it, but the ball should be in our court to do it according to their rules, because they are their rules that they need to help us, and also in the same way to build up our own institutions. So I believe that, as has just been said, we don't expect this to be so automatic, a matter of a budget year. But over time, once the process is put in place, I believe that we do quite well by comparison with what happened in previous years in these areas. So I believe that is one of the most important outcomes of this visit.
Alright, the phone lines are already open, and I think we've been having a number of calls, just that it's not been verified, the links have not been verified, but we'll try to see if we can take this first call coming in. This is from Lagos, I believe. Oh dear. Hello?
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 Yeah, this is Mr. Chicks from Lagos.
Alright, just go ahead.
Yeah, the problem of our lost money and from the people that stole money from Nigeria is not the problem. It's the problem about the government making use of the money, where the money was taken from maybe Switzerland, America, all over the world, where our money was taken to. The last money they brought from Abacha's family, Abacha did not give us account of what the money was used for. So I mean, we take the money for their personal use. We have a lot of problems in Nigeria. If they are fighting to retrieve those money, they have to have planning they will use money for. So the Nigerians will see what the money was used for. Not when they get the money, they use for their own personal interest. That's my contribution. If they are fighting to get this money they steal from Nigeria, they have to have a plan where the money is returned to. Not they will tell us they bring some billions of naira to Nigeria, and at the end of the day, we will not see where the money is going for.
No.
So that's my own contribution.
Alright, thank you very much. Well, it's not about getting the money back, it's about what use it's put to. Mr. Governor. Well, Nigeria's funds that have been taken abroad illegally, stolen funds if you like. The last caller there says it's not about even repatriating such funds to Nigeria. It's about the use that these funds will be put to.
Thank you very much. I think what is most important is ensuring that this money gets back to the coffers of the government where this money has been stolen. And the issue of how the money would be utilized is not questioned anymore, given the kind of person we have at the helm of affairs in the country. Someone whose pedigree and antecedents prove the fact that he's someone that is focused on accountability. And given the goodwill and confidence they have on President Buhari, I'm sure when this money comes back home, the President will supervise how this money is used and within place.
Okay, if we just stay a little while on the matter of finance and investments, a number of governors, co-governors on the street, and let's zero in on your state, particularly Nasarawa, which of course might have or does have opportunities in the area of investments. And this visit supposedly would have opened up new vistas. How would Nasarawa State and indeed other states key into this and attract investments?
Thank you very much. I think generally all the governors that love this visit had one opportunity or another that they would take home and implement almost immediately. For me in Nasarawa, I am focused on looking at things that have particular potential to my state, and my mind was zeroed towards three areas: one of agriculture, two of solid mineral, and three on the issue of power. Why I consider agric and solid minerals topmost priority is because the land mass in Nasarawa, more than 80% are arable and conducive for effective farming, and all kinds of crops could be produced in Nasarawa. Secondly, the issue of solid minerals is something that is being a very serious problem for us in Nasarawa. While we have the large quantum of these minerals, our challenges and problems are how we can get the right kind of investor to exploit and partner with the state in order to get the best out of it. So the meetings, even though corporate, it brought down to states meeting those interested entrepreneurs who participated in the discussion, either in the state departments or with the chambers of commerce or with Nigerians in the diaspora and many other investors, to fine-tune how each of those investors that have opportunities for one state, that you go and meet such and discuss with him. I have discussed with about 2 investors who are ready to come to invest on solar minerals, but I have a condition for them. It's not just a matter of exploiting the resources. I want a situation where they should bring ideas where the citizens of Massawa State should participate in the prospection of the solar minerals by providing cottage industries, by creating wealth through expansion of their activities to ensure that there are opportunities for employment. Very soon I'm going to have a visit with about 2 conglomerates who are on solar mineral business, and at that point in time we'll be able to discuss about the nitty-gritty of how we go about
So nothing wrong in putting forward conditions. You your own conditions. You expected you would have had their conditions. Of course, yes. But one of the things that's been said is in our drive to promote export, we've not really added value, and that's why we don't compete favorably with products that are exported from other countries to places like the United States. What are we going to do for this visit? What were the things that we took out from there as to enhance and add value to whatever products we sell? We can. I mean, smaller countries are doing better in exporting goods to...
Yes, because we are primarily just focused on raw material. It's just exporting raw material, but Nigeria has not been totally sleeping. Preparing. We have the Nigerian Industrial Revolution Plan in place to industrialize Nigeria. We presented it to President Buhari just a couple of weeks ago to let him know what we were doing towards it, and he's fully endorsed it because that goes along with his thinking and plan as well. We need to fully diversify our economy, and one of the big gains from this meeting is the Secretary of Commerce in America, Penny Pritzker, extending an invitation from President Obama to address the Doing Business in Africa Council in September under when President Buhari goes for the UN General Assembly meeting. So she's organizing the Doing Business in Africa Council in America. It's created by an executive order by the president, and it's really big because the council over 15 top business men in America working in. Also, under the Doing Business in Africa, you have the Power Africa initiative by President Obama. It's under there. You have the U.S. Export-Import Bank, which we are also asking America to reauthorize, because authorization has gone, because it creates a lot of jobs there. Under that is also the Millennium Challenge Corporation, the MCI. You also have the Overseas Private Investment Corporation under it. You have the USTDA, you have the USDA, and most importantly, you have USAID, who are doing various things with us. So it's a good opportunity for Mr. President to present his trade focus on areas of investment. What we are looking for is like what His Excellency said. We want investment into Nigeria, but we don't want investment that come here to chase funds. We are looking for investment into manufacturing, into industry, so that will create jobs, and I think that's a very good platform that we move on, and we'll get the investment.
Okay, we'll certainly return to you and try to find out some of these products that we might use to replace oil and export. But I believe that we had a caller earlier on from Jos.
Yes, hello?
Yes, hello.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
Zidon, my name is Conrad Zidon.
All right.
I'm calling from Jos.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, on the visit of the president, very quite expensive, especially now that our relationship with the United States has been strengthened. But my immediate concern is why do the president persist on Barack Obama to continue buying our oil? Because this is one of the major things. If you look at the situation in the country now, because of lack of this, the American not buying our oil, especially our revenue profile have drastically dropped. I don't know. Maybe the president should have persisted much on that issue, and also on to talk about rights in the country. I don't know. Some of the other issues have been settled, but the president persisted. I think that oil deal has been secured.
Oh dear, we lost that. But he's already put forward that opinion that he should have insisted on America buying our oil.
They only buy what they need. They are friends. Exactly.
Well, Dr. Edikakali, the last call I just said that we should have insisted, President Buhari should have insisted that America continues to buy Nigerian oil because that's the only way we buy into that argument.
Nice.
Only to a very small extent. I think one of our panelists talked about some of the developments that have discouraged American oil operators in Nigeria. Now, you get to a point and the American government will say, well, we don't buy oil as a government. It still goes to the private sector that have to arrange this. You see? So I'm sure Mr. President might have dropped a hint that we are really concerned that not much of our oil is going to America. But there's a limited amount of push you can make because it's not the government's position to order the importers to import Nigerian oil. Of course, a lot of these things, as somebody quite already mentioned, have to do with price, but also the conditions under which these things are lifted. So if you start to have situations affecting security, insurance, easy transportation, and things begin to be a little bit difficult, all these contribute to those decisions. And I think we should also not overlook the fact that there is a glut in the making. So we have to really make it to find new buyers. We can't really concentrate on asking America to buy more. Part of the reason they are buying less is because they are also producing more shale oil and other forms of oil as in addition to the fact that incrementally they are reducing the use of oil in some of the major sectors of the economy. So yes, where we have the opportunity we can push it, but everything really boils down on private importers, the relative price in relation to other exporting nations, and the issues, the non-price issues that surround, say, importing from Nigeria or operating in Nigeria. So we have to look at this on a very holistic basis to put up a better position for what we want.
All right. We'll take a short break at this point. When we return, there will be more on the likely fallouts of the Buhari visit to the United States. Stay with us, 70 Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate contemporary gains of leave. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one, we're here together. Let's not fight each other, let us give a God. It doesn't matter where you come from, the fight for religion, man, woman or child, it doesn't matter who you are, Nigeria first. No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we
attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, good nation.
Issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying with us. We're reviewing Mr. President's visit to the US, and the lines are open on the other platforms as well, so you might join in this discussion, raise issues or questions as you may wish to, and a panel of discussants here will address such issues as you might raise. But let's go on to Ambassador. Well, it's been said that at the start of this program we did hear about Mahmoud Othman say that at one point in time Nigeria-US relations were at a cooling stage. Will this visit do much to thaw that chill that was in relations, and how much leverage and what mileage do you think will be achieved with this visit?
Well, I would agree that there was some low ebbing in the relations, and come to think of it, one of the reasons, or was an expression of that low ebb, was the issue of how genuine was US in supporting the issue of fight against insurgency and so on. There has been some commitment or indications of the affirmation of support again, but on one side we hear some discordant comments that seem to worry us, and we yet to enlist us again. Are we still where we were over this matter? Because this matter is very critical to us at this moment. And if we don't see a move that really indicates a genuine and active support, then we will still go back, we would almost go back to what it was before, despite the razzmatazz of a successful state visit. So I am reluctant to say that things have changed. There is a good sign, there is an indication that it could change if we get a measure of the support we are looking for over insurgency. If we get good support over repatriation of funds, of course, if the business climate gets better, then we can say that as a result of this visit, things are happening that will lead to what we can say that is a very strong warming up of relations between both countries. But perhaps my training and my experience in these things tells me not to jump to conclusions right away. But that's not to say that the indications are not there, but we still need to see specific things take place before we can say we are getting close to Uhuru in terms of our relations with the U.S. That's actually my kind of opinion about that.
Yeah, one moment.
Well, the problem is this security issue we keep talking about. At the beginning, we ourselves were not convinced. I'm not taking we individuals, we Nigerian people. But the government itself was not sure of itself what this was all about. Anybody, all the foreign missions, they read our papers, they observe programs like this, they see what we are talking about. They see what the government is saying. So if the government will be so relaxed and show us some kind of laxity, for example, everybody is talking of Sambisa. You think Sambisa is something from heavens? Sambisa is just a forest, 517.22 square kilometers. It was gazetted in 1978. It's a federal government forest. You have forest wardens with their green phone, with rifle to protect the elephants and the ostriches there. Okay? It's every inch of Nigeria is belongs to one of the 770 local governments. So what happened to the Minister of Environment? Who is paying the workers in Sambisa? What happened to Sambisa workers? Were they all killed? What happened to chief games who were in charge of Sambisa forest? Nobody asked this question. We just had that 200 and something guys were taken back. 220 guys are not bags of anti-cement. You park them in a trailer, they are not making noise, they are not complaining. Even time you see luxury bus. This big luxury buses, how many people do they carry? They just carry about 50, not more. So how many luxury buses in a convoy you take to a stable? So a government didn't do anything about that. We are waiting for 470 days after that one. Then all other things put together. From a little UCP enclave in Maiduguri to separate to all over northeast. And even coming to federal capital territory, other places like Kabula and Kano and so on. So, that was that. But Nigerian government has no business to achieve one country whether it is America or anybody else financial arms. That we don't learn our lessons. Because even though when civil war started in this country, our mother who set up our military, the British government, decided just to not to. We were forced to go to Russia, establish a relation. We never had a relation with Russia. Soviet Union came, we appointed James Kurubo, as our ambassador there. That is the beginning of our relationship. That's how we acquire arms to fight a whole civil war. So why should anybody be crying that America has not come to us in arms? Alright, we have Abba calling in from Abuja here. Go ahead, Abba. Hello?
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Please, my comment is directed to the Excellency Governor, please.
Okay.
Yes. Governor, sir, we have a presentation to make. If we have investors that want to come into the country, we always try to get to the president to make our presentation, but no way. This is something that at least the masses should have a way to be getting to the president. This project is a private project. It is going to bring about 10,000 permanent jobs. It's a big gas project. We've been trying to make a presentation since June to get our letter to the president, but to no avail. That's why I'm calling police, and it's very, very urgent. Your government wants people to have jobs. Yes, so please, any private project should be supported by the government as stated by the president.
Alright. Okay. The governor will comment about that because he directed the question
respect to him, and perhaps he's from Nasarawa State.
Thank you. I have problem with public address system, especially.
Yes, okay. Because
I have discussion. Maybe you can.
well, he said he's got some plans, a presentation to do with investments, and that will create 10,000 jobs, permanent jobs, and they can't reach the president. So he needs the government to create an avenue where such ideas can reach the government. I've been trying to put this across since June.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me thank you and appreciate you for creating time to think about some kind of ideas or initiative that will provide jobs and create wealth. But like you know, if you are from Nasarawa, we have an open door policy, and there's no problem about reaching me. I'm open at all times. But you see, the executive office may not make it easily accessible by every person at all times. There are certain procedures for seeing a governor. You can write me, you can call me, you can get in contact with some of my staff who can bring you up, and we can open discussion on that issue. I'm open, and you take my number from any of my staff and call me anytime. I will invite you so we can discuss. This is something that is really, really attractive for me and for the country at large.
All right, so okay. Yes, so
some of the questions we had that Mr. President should have asked Americans to buy our oil.
all right.
We have to be taking crude to other people to refine. What happened to us here? So the first order of things is to convince investors to come and set up refineries. If we cannot refine the 4 refineries we have, then please let us establish some immediately. In this studio, almost 80% of everything I'm seeing here is petroleum byproduct. But if you don't refine, you don't have it. You have, so the money they give us per barrel, we grab it and give it back to them, give us as raw materials. You come here, we enrich them those ways. So instead of buying our oil, let us process our oil here, let's add value, then export raw materials to other countries. Let us export refined petroleum to all African countries that need it, even if we don't want to go overseas across the Atlantic.
Yes, let me really thank you for that. So you are really is on my team. You are the non-oil team here. Let me say, because of America banning oil, America discovered the technology of fracking. With that, they've been able to get shale oil. Other countries as well are looking at renewable energy. They are not waiting to buy oil. America moved, India suddenly became our #1 trading partner because they were buying our oil. But that cannot continue because India is also looking on renewable energy. All these countries are looking at ways to stop using oil. So why are we so focused on oil? So that's the thing of the past. Let's start knowing oil is a finite product. It's going on. You were going to ask me about what do we have in place for oil? Yes, under the Nigerian Industrial Revolution Plan, we have our national, what we call our national strategic export products. We identified 13 products that we think we can push and get revenue from oil. I'll come to what look, we have under the agro-industrial, we have palm oil, cocoa, cashew, sugar and rice. Under that, the first question, I think was Dr. Kalu who said it. By the way, let me greet Dr. Kalu. He's a fine gentleman and friend for years. I really admire him. So I greet you in Lagos. We look at those products, we're going to talk to the Americans. Like, you must allow us to sell you rice. Our rice must go into the American market. Under the product, we're scaling up production of many of these products, agricultural products. We need to scale
particular producer before you can even start processing. On that, we have mining, which the governor and I have been discussing, because under our one state, one product that we are planning to roll out, we have identified sesame seeds and mining from Nasarawa State as products that we can push. But under mine, we have iron ore, metals, aluminium, auto parts and cars that we can export. The one I wanted to mention, sorry, just quickly to buttress this point, was oil and gas. Yes, why is it only crude oil we're selling? Okay. The first visitor that visited me when I got the appointment was the ambassador to Iran. And he said, listen, Mr. Awolowo, that's your LMO petrochemical plant. You need to get about 20 of it in the country, because that's what you need to scale out petroleum products, refined products, and to sell. But look, we in Iran, we have about 24 of those things. So we're under sanctions from the West on oil, but not on non-oil. So we're able to raise our non-oil exports about 50 billion. So they can be okay, they're not dying with that. So these are the things we need to do to really move away from oil. And I'm glad that this president is focused as well. Okay, so yes, Ambassador.
My mind just went to the question that was addressed to the governor.
Right.
The gentleman has a project that he seems very confident about. That will create 10,000 jobs. It must be very big. But he's griping over access to president. Do we still need people to see the president before they do things? I mean,
direct that really to the NIPC.
Exactly. So, the point I'm trying to make is that was the mindset of the past, that you needed to see the president, the governor. I think investment and business climate is changing. You can come in, set up what you want to do, get knowledge, information from the agency that do it. So because there used to be a time that you must see the president, and that was part of the beginning of corruption, because there were also some people who gave the impression they would give you and get you access, whereas they didn't have access. But now you just come and set your business, define what it is, get on to do it. You don't need to. So I think just to explain that.
Well, Dr. Kali, the point's been made that moderation has to be applied to whatever we expect that this new relationship, if I might call it so, with the United States would bring out to Nigeria, and that really they're not going to come and solve our problems. It's Nigerians who must take the bull by the horns and through hard work, doing their best. We can only expect assistance here and there from them. What do you say about us pushing forward? Especially, as some might say, looking to the West really isn't going to solve our problems, especially our economic problems. Yes, I think as the ambassador just mentioned, some of these perspectives are really out of fashion. The visit has been very, very satisfactory from the standpoint of what we must take as challenges to Nigerians. First, we must get this leadership as broad on a base as possible. It's not just the president, it's also the other arms of government, the legislature, the governors, and so on and so forth. We have to focus on the institutions. I'm glad that the issue of the point was made about whether you really needed to go and see the president. I mean, there is a Sheldon sitting there. I'm sure he must have wondered, because we need to have this one-stop shop, not only at the federal level, but also at the state level, and even in lower levels of governance, so that the industrialist who lives in a small area has access to see somebody who can assist them in terms of how to get credit, how to get land, and other essential inputs in order to bring about fruition what the ideas are all about. So the first take is that the challenge is for us to build strong institutions, strong legal framework, so that we reduce all this tendency to push things up to the governors or to the president and so on and so forth. And clearly, as I said, America sees Nigeria as a major player. They've said it. They've always expected us to get to the point where we are a major player. Now we are 26th largest economy, and we are talking about getting to the top 20. But if you look at the structure of our production, we still have a long way to go. And I'm not surprised that the last administration felt bold to call it industrial revolution. That implies a whole lot of things: regulations, credit, infrastructure, personnel development, and so on and so forth. So we have so much to do without having to talk about relying on anybody else. Of course, they can come in, and they come in that much more easily, where we can show them exactly where we need them. There are very few situations where people come and tell us what they want. If they say they want to come here, we should have a framework to tell them where we are in our agrarian revolution and our industrial revolution, in developing our infrastructure. So we should point out to them precisely where their special capital or special skills or technology will be needed, or financing. We should take the lead in all of these things. And I think what the Americans are saying is that they see that Nigeria more or less is going to be on the march again to address the issues that should make it a major player in the Community of Nations. So the burden really is on us. We cannot be putting the blame on anybody. They have their own interests. We should develop our own interests, and we should build institutions that will foster these interests. We have a large population. We have a large labor force. It is for us to create the jobs, and these jobs will come primarily from the major sectors: agriculture, industry, infrastructure, and of course services, including some of the new areas that we've discovered with the rebasing of our economy. So the ball is in our court, as one of the panelists said earlier. We really should take that burden on ourselves and not look to anybody. Of course, we can welcome any assistance. For instance, in the social sector areas, whether it's vaccines for polio or vaccines for anything else, and so on and so forth, well, we can always accept assistance there. We shouldn't say we don't want assistance, but we have to determine very deliberately what kind of assistance that we need. So the ball is in our court.
All right. We have a number of emails here, and would ask guests to comment as the case may be. The very first one easily is just agreeing with a few statements that have been made here before, and this is from Osakpa A. Samuel from Makudi, and he says, President Buhari's visit to the USA was largely successful, but we shouldn't count our chickens before they are hatched. And yes, there's nothing as a free meal. America does not do Father Christmas diplomacy. Meaning there's always something. Well, there's no free lunch. And then from Augustine Francis, he says, my question is that how can we be convinced that America will help us fight corruption and terrorism with the recent trip made by President Buhari? Secondly, I advise Nigerian leaders to be confident and optimistic that in togetherness we can achieve a set goal. Please, we should stop chasing shadows and face the reality on ground. And this, he says, is good governance. Now, these were some of the issues that were discussed at this meeting. Governor, just take us into that.
Yeah, that's his views. But I think issues relating to insurgency are things that we should not look at it locally, because the dimension and the scope of the challenges we have, especially that of Boko Haram, requires some kind of partnership or support even beyond the shores of his country. So it is very much in place for a country to seek for support or intelligence gathering or intelligence sharing, especially from a country that has had a more sophisticated exposure in terms of handling issues of insurgency like the United States of America.
Okay, Jude is calling in from Port Harcourt. Jude, go ahead. Hello, is Jude on the line? No, I think... Good evening.
Good evening, all.
Yes, good evening, Jude. Go ahead with a question or comment.
Good evening, all.
Good evening, I'm answering you. Go ahead.
Good evening, all.
Oh dear. Jude, go ahead with a question or comment. We can hear you.
Yeah, I just want to ask a question. Okay, my question goes directly to... I said my question goes directly to Amakura.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Please, in this country, today we all talk about the integrity of their president. So I want to ask whether this integrity will influence our governors.
That's it. Jude, are you still there? Okay, fine. I think we got the gist of his question. Governor, he wants to know if we've heard everyone talk about the integrity of Mr. President, the integrity of President Buhari. Does it extend to the governors?
Of course, why not? We are having an opportunity to be led by someone whose integrity and honor is not in question. President Buhari is in power only about 2 months now, and you can expect that his position and his leadership and his example of how he deals with issues are things that are going to be copied by governors, because for the first time this is the time we are having an association with him in such a situation of governance, and everyone would want to copy his own leaders. And General Buhari, by virtue of what he has done before, what his life had always been, had been someone that this country needs to move this country forward. And the governors who have been in office before now have had one idea or another, and nothing to learn from, especially from the national leadership in the past. But with the coming of General Muhammad Buhari and his pedigree and his integrity, everyone would want to key into that kind of values that would also support his position.
So like Jude says, we want to hear more people talk about the integrity of more of the governors in Nigeria. But let's go over to Kaduna, where there's another caller. Hello? Do we still have the call coming through from Kaduna?
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Comrade Yusuf Dangote, calling from Kaduna.
Alright, Comrade Yusuf, go ahead.
My first question goes to Mr. Kali from Lagos.
Okay.
Mr. Kali, what is the impact of Muhammad Buhari visit to America? What is the life of ordinary Nigeria. And my second question goes to Mr. Olusogun. In terms of corruption, how do you think Nigeria will fight this corruption? America promised Nigeria that they will help Nigeria to fight corruption. How do you think America will help Nigeria to fight this corruption? Because if I could remember in the Ahmed Joda once said there is corruption in any sector in Nigeria. My last question goes to Mahmoud Othman. Mahmoud Othman, how do you think Nigeria will fight insurgency? Thank you. May God bless Nigeria.
All right. Thank you, comrade. So let's go over to Lagos and Dr. Kalu Dikakalu. Well, I'm certain you heard your first question. Of what impact is this visit to the U.S. to the ordinary Nigerian? Dr. Kalu Dikakalu. Yes.
Yes, I think this is a very important question. This is a mere 2-hour program, and as has been said, some of these repercussions are going to take time to play out. But for starters, just looking at how Nigerians in the U.S. felt, you could see from the little pictures on television and some of the transcripts of what was said, that visit, the way our president carried himself, the way the team performed, the way he was so much respected, that obviously rubs off on thousands and thousands of Nigerians abroad, because this contrasts very sharply with the general impression that we've had, all the associations with if you like, 419, fraud, general laxity about observing the rules and so on and so forth. So directly you could see that it gave a lot of hope that the respect that's accorded the ordinary Nigerian in the United States, for instance, and for that matter abroad, will have risen quite substantially from just the way our president was being described as a solid man of integrity, somebody who will observe the law irrespective of whose ox is God, somebody who is going to try and run an efficient administration, and so on and so forth. All these positive epithets will rub off very nicely on Nigerians abroad. The same for Nigerians at home. There is no question that people now know how they can look up to the president to fulfill some of this implicit confidence that the whole world has now come to put on Nigeria. So we just talked about how you don't need to look to the president to carry out some things, and that should rub off on the governors, and people should begin to observe the rights that they have and claim those rights. So as I said, it's going to take time for all of these things to evolve, but there is no question that such has been the dimension of the sea change that we see. Of course, we've had presidents with different levels of dignity and so on and so forth, but this has added even more to whatever we had before. And I believe that we really have to take our time to underscore the import of this on the way we carry out things, on the way citizens are respected, people are paid on schedule, pensioners and so on. People are now encouraged to assert their rights because somebody up there will not just ask questions but will take action, and that's why we are talking about bailing out some of the states and so on and so forth. Of course, there are practical problems in implementation, but I think the spirit of this new concern for the ordinary citizenry, wherever he may be, the new edge being brought on fighting Boko Haram, and the effort being made to resettle 1.5 million refugees, it was very significant. Our president announced how much money the government was already pledging, 100 million he said, and America of course have pledged 5, which also underscores the fact that we must realize that the responsibility lies on us to tackle our own problems. Others can only come in to help. So in so many ways, I think you can see how the visit will impact directly on ordinary Nigerians, both at home and abroad.
Okay, now for your questions.
That's a very interesting one, and let me, in answering that, let me go back to when President Obama first came to Africa, and he went to Ghana, and he didn't come to Nigeria, and there was an uproar that we ignored us. But one of the statements he made there, which really caught on to me, was that, look, he said the time for African big men is over. Develop institutions. You know, that is the only way you can really sit down and tackle corruption. You must empower your institutions. You must make them non-political. And they must work for the good of the people. You know, all the various institutions were those fighting corruption, law enforcement, everything must be independent. It must be developed. It must be strengthened. So far as to not to serve the whole populace, not just few individuals. You know, the EFCC must not be political. You know, it must work accordingly. Institutions must work and function. You know, that's what I want to say to Comrade Yusuf Dangote, who has a paradox in his name. He's a comrade on one hand, he's Dangote, the richest Nigeria on the other hand. But the institutions just have to be developed and function, and that's the only way.
All right. Just before Mahmoud Osman answers his question, Omar has been waiting on the line from Kaduna. Just quickly take a question, and then we'll wrap it up there. Yes.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Now, my question goes to the ambassador.
Okay.
Now, illicit foreign fund is popularly known in the worldwide. Now, ambassador, can you describe the role American Swiss Bank and French Swiss Bank is done in siphoning our money? Now, can you just in a nutshell explain it to us? Because Mandela have complained sometimes Nigerians have not yet learned lessons from the rate of outflow of money in Africa. Now, another aspect I wanted to ask also is, now, we talk of corruption. Now, what can you say also about the role of Halliburton, American-based oil has played in Nigeria? What are you people doing over that issue? Thank you very much. It's been Buba Umar Yaza.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So, first we'll take Malam Mahmoud Othman's answer to the question earlier asked by Comrade, and then, of course, the ambassador is right here. He'll address what you have just asked. Yes.
Well, thank you very much. Comrade, you asked a very difficult question. Because if we know how to do it, we would have done it a long time ago. But having said that, you see, there are a lot of things that were left undone. But we thank God now, at least we are seeing a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. There is a reawakening by government itself. The reorganization of the armed forces, creating a 7th division with headquarters in Maiduguri as a command and control center will do a lot to change the equation. That's one. Two, we have the support of our neighbors who are also on the receiving end. Niger, Chad, Cameroon, and here we are. Then we have learned a lot. Those people who are fighting the insurgency of our behalf have learned a lot of lessons, all the tricks they have known. The local governments, about 40 local governments are occupied by insurgents in the northeast. All of them have been liberated. There is not a single town under their control, only that they do hit and run. So what is the most important thing is surveillance and information gathering or intelligence gathering, which was missing in the past. That's why the terrorists have an upper hand. Another one I would suggest, which was overlooked for the last 5 years, is that while we are looking we are diverting attention. Some people were telling us that Al-Shabaab of Somalia was part of it. I tell you, that's not true. Whoever is telling that one is just told by the moonlight. You look at where Somalia is located in the whole of Africa. There is no connection whatsoever. There is no language. There is a language barrier, and Somalians have no business. First of all, they are not from Eritrea to Djibouti to Ethiopia and to Kenya. That surrounded them. The only outlet is Indian Ocean, and they only go to cross Indian Ocean or Red Sea to go to Yemen and become a refugee. So that one doesn't come here. The so-called Al-Qaeda Al-Maghrib, a lot of intelligent people believe in that one. That one also is a cock and bull story. Al-Qaeda Al-Maghrib was the creation of America, Margaret Thatcher and Reagan, because they didn't allow Islamic Salvation Front to take over power in 1991 when they won election. And when they are denied, they decided to fight the government that was put there. And then for convenience, America called them Al-Qaeda of the West. That's the Al-Maghrib, Al-Qaeda Al-Maghrib. So they are not here. But the other one we never bothered to take into consideration is that we have affinity with the people of Darfur and Kordofan in the western Sudan. The United Nations is there on peacekeeping. Nigeria, at one time, our own Nigerian general was the commander of that unit, and the Nigerians were ambushed there. They think they want to have freedom like Southern Sudan, other countries, and they think Nigeria has no business to go and be a peacekeeper. They misunderstood our peacekeeping was interference. And they speak Kanuri, they speak Bargi, they speak Shuarab, they speak Hausa. So if they come to help their colleagues in Nigeria, Nigerian people will not know the difference. Therefore, our intelligent people must look into that direction. And not only that, in Eastern Chad, the three provinces of Eastern Chad that have the same border with Sudan, there are more than 300,000 refugees from Darfur and Kordofan. They are there in Abuja area and so on. So Nigerians should involve Sudan in this fight against, so not just a coalition of Nigeria and Niger, Cameroon and Chad. We should also find out from Sudan if they can do something about their own border to be on the surveillance so we can work together. We, as a people, we should be mobilized to be more vigilant. Information gathering, whoever gives information, his security must be guaranteed. So people can open up and give information where it can be used. We wish our army and our intelligence officers all the best.
Alright, so let's go to Ambassador.
Well, let's make a few clarifications. I hope I had right that these countries siphoned funds. It wouldn't be fair to say they siphoned funds, because that would suggest that your funds were where they should be and they were there taking them. What you could say rightly that your funds deliberately flowed to them, and it's the outcome of course, all that we've been talking about: corruption, weak institutions, poor governance, and all the ills that have happened over the years, over the decades. And of course, it doesn't happen only in Nigeria. You have some of these funds, African funds, I would say, either from the Congolese, the Mobudu Sese Seko, even as far back as Haile Selassie, there were all these funds. A situation where a continent or a country, in the case of Nigeria, you have where, all sorts of, well, let me just round it up to say it is the effect of corruption. That money that should have been used, these are for the public good, they are public funds, are not used for that, but end up in other societies where they serve that society. Can you imagine a situation? Let's assume that we really have about $150 billion in the U.S. coffers. Well, in that economy, is doing all the work for them. that he should have been doing for us. So this is a pity about corruption, and that's why the president seems to be dead set on it, and he's been talking about it as before he won election, as part of the election, and he's gone out there and he has put it as part of the number 2 issue on the card. We probably will be seeing a change now, because if he pushes that agenda seriously, makes success in terms of repatriating the funds, he will have brought back some money into our coffers. We can't get everything. All the money that have gone to the other economies, you can't even bring them back. But one thing that would have been achieved is that we are now the institutions that would have been set would begin to curb such outflow, such invidious negative outflow of resources that you need for our own development. So let's look up to a brighter future on this regard.
All right, thank you very much. Well,
Yes.
quickly back to the emails, and this one goes to Governor Makura. It's from Professor Bechibi Enoch, and he says, what was the U.S. interest, such as the African High Command gay rights? Were these also discussed at the meeting? Governor Makura, would you know?
Thank you very much. That was not an issue that took any center stage in any of the discussions we had with Americans. I'm sure maybe it's because we thought it may not be part of Nigeria's priority. But as far as we're concerned, there wasn't any issue like that came to the fore during the discussion.
Right. There's another question that came in through the email for the governor. This one, of course, we couldn't get the name to this, but he says, would Governor Al-Makura kindly disclose where the issue of Faridua hydroelectric power project featured in his discussions with American investors, and how soon can we expect to witness resumption of work on the project?
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, that aspect of the project was not discussed in America, because it was not a discussion that centered on particular issues. It was a general broad issues on trade relations, economic development, cooperation and collaboration. And once you take on any sector, then you come and discuss individually or privately with those interested parties. Maybe since we have talked about issues of power, particularly with regard to hydro, renewable energy, but the center of the discussion on power was based on solar, where we have a very reputed American company that has had solar power projects across Africa, and they're doing really, really well. But the point, the issue that came up was whether solar power could be the right type of energy we need in the stage of our development. We consider solar power as intervention that could be handy in rural areas rather than use it in urban areas to power industries, factories, and high volume needs of energy.
Okay, we might just stay with you a little longer as we begin to wind down. Yes, agriculture is also of interest to you. Land is key to agriculture. Nasara is the next door neighbor of the FCT, and we do know that land issues are fraught with all kinds of challenges, and a lot of corruption goes into the question of land acquisition and generally land issues. How are you tackling that?
Thank you very much. As far as we're concerned with the issue of land in Nasarawa State, we consider it as one of our topmost priority. A priority in the sense that given its contiguity or closeness with fellow capital. Value of our land appreciates by the day. But the only way we could get the true or full value of that land is to develop a system or platform where modern land administration system could be put in place so that we get the full benefits of what our value of land was. So National State, as a deliberate policy, has developed what we call the National State Development Platform. This is to do with what we call spatial data infrastructure, meaning computerized land administration system where development control, physical planning, information system, and all kinds of things that will make modern land administration be possible. The reason for that is if you invest on land, you need to get all the necessary documents that makes that land valid. So that is why we package what we call the National State Information and Geographic Information System, which deals with modern land administration and details.
All right, so we'll have to leave it there for tonight. And Governor Umaru Tonko Makura of Nasarawa State, thank you for coming on this program. And of course, Mr. Olusegun Awolowo, the CEO of Nigeria Export Promotion Council, we thank you for being here. Malam Mahmoud Osman, it's been a pleasure to have you join us here.
Thank you very much.
And Ambassador Joseph Ayalogu, we thank you for sharing the time with us. And straight on to Lagos Network Center, sincere thanks to Dr. Kalu Idika Kalu for joining us and sharing his experience and time with us. Thank you, Dr. Kalu Idika Kalu. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night.
And to all of you who join us on this program, who are part of it, we'd like to thank you for your time. Next week we'll reach you again on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Bye for now.